Tip top trippers, hello everybody and welcome back to my channel, where in this video I'll be taking you through the magic 3-hour rule. So please do give this video a thumbs up, subscribe and comment, and spread the joy of running. My name is Donato and I took up running in my mid-50s, where I could barely run to the end of my street, and I went from charity runner and in a very few short years to England Marathon Masters. And I love running, absolutely love it, and I'm here to share the joy of running and hopefully help you guys and gals to enjoy running too. So without further ado, let's go. So in today's video, the magic 3-hour rule, I'm going to go through the 3 points of why and how the 3-hour rule has sort of come about. The first one will be about why it's essential to train based on time on feet, not running distances. Number 2 is I'll talk about one of the top elite runners and how they have worked out that it's essential not to be doing too long on feet at any one time. And then I'll sum up on the third point of why we look at the 3-hour rule, the whys and wherefores, and how we came about that. So without further ado, let's crack straight on with it. Point number 1, we talk about the 3-hour magic rule. Time. Training to time on feet rather than distances. And as I'm passing here, whilst this is a stone circle, yeah, not quite Stonehenge, but this is a stone circle here, obviously, you know, man-made, a bit like Stonehenge, that is man-made. I don't think this has been here for thousands of years, but hey, time and time again I talk about on my channel, and I'm only touching on this and the whys and wherefores, and I'll probably do a separate video in detail of why training to time on feet, especially as a beginner, novice, intermediate, is so essential, and not distances. Yes, there's a time and a place for distances, but in a nutshell, as a beginner, if a training plan says go out and run 15 miles, it becomes, the psychology becomes like it's a race. I've got to keep running until I've done 15 miles. And as we run at all different paces, you could be on your feet for who knows how long. It could be way beyond 3 hours, which isn't a good idea. Yeah, so in a nutshell, and I always get straight to the point, no faffing, no messing, is time on feet works a lot better, both in terms of the psychology and the physiology of training. So hopefully that makes sense to you, and it'll work as we go through the magic 3-hour rule. You'll see why time on feet training to time. Have I said time enough? Yeah, maybe I should be a time lord. It's so important. Yeah, training on time. So if you've got a training plan as a beginner, it says run X miles, I'd question that, because as I say, the psychology there, you start thinking, oh, I've got to get this distance done. And especially when you get to the longer distances, it becomes a real grind. And we don't want that in running. We want the joy of running. So let's crack on with point number 2, about a real top ultra runner. Yeah. A question that I often get asked is, 3 hours, is that really enough time to be on my feet if it's going to be taking me 5-6 hours to complete a marathon, or however long it'll take you to do? Yeah, believe me, 3 hours is a tried and tested rule. There is a bit of leniency, as I've said in previous videos, you know, maybe up to 3 hours 30, 3 hours 45 at a push. But when I get on to point number 3, you'll see why there's a certain cut-off time. But I use an ultra marathon runner. She's a world record holder for 24 hours running the longest distance in 24 hours. So you'd think, as an ultra runner, if they've been running for 24 hours, surely they must do training that lasts longer than 3 hours. Yeah, well, that's what you'd think, and I would think the same. You know, this lady has won the Comrades Marathon, which is I think it's 50 miles double. You know, she's won it. Yeah, that's a lady, not coming ahead of all the men and everyone. So winning Comrades, I better check the statistics on that. I know she's won it, whether she won the ladies race or the men's. Anyway, I know she won Comrades, yeah, and she's got the world record for 24 hours. Do you know what that distance is? In 24 hours, she ran 167 0.842 miles. That's over 270 kilometers in 24 hours. Now, I know a lot of people, and some people who may be watching this who do ultras, will say, well, I do things differently. Well, yeah, we can all do things differently, but what do you want to achieve? What's the end result that you want from that? And for her, so do you know what the magic, because something stood out when you see these interviews and podcasts and so on, something jumped at me, and it didn't sound, you know, sometimes you just want to listen and think, well, that doesn't really make sense, because if she's running, you know, for 24 hours, how can this 3-hour rule or whatever come into effect? Well, the longest that she would run at any one time, bear in mind she might do double runs on days, but at any one time is 20 miles. Yeah, and for these elite guys, 20 miles is completed in way under 3 hours. So, you know, at an easy pace. So does that make sense? Hopefully that helps alleviate some of the concerns, issues you might have, thinking, is it long enough? Well, yeah, it is. Point number 3, why this 3-hour rule? I did touch on it briefly in a London Marathon Monday, London Marathon weekly update. The goal that I have, and I always mention this time and time again, repetition is good. The goal about getting to the start of a marathon is to get to the start of a marathon. The goal of marathon training is to get to the start of the marathon, yeah? Fit, healthy, ready to go. And the 3-hour rule is one of the ways of ensuring that and reducing the risk of injury. You know, when we take on the mammoth task, and it is a mammoth task to train for a marathon, it's a long way, 26.2 miles, 42.2 kilometers, however you want to measure it, it's a long way. And if you've never done it before, like when I was a beginner 6 years ago, it was terrifying, and I thought, will I ever get to the finish? But following simple rules, what I've been covering on these Friday fundamentals, the 3-hour rule is almost essential, because it's about fatigue, tiredness, running form. If those things start to set in after a particular amount of time, there's no shame in actually stopping the running and just continue walking, rest, recover whilst walking, and then start again. Yeah. And I've mentioned, and I think you guys have commented on the previous one, I know Colin mentioned, a few others, about running form. We all have different types of running form depending on what our height, weight, size, cadence, all that type of stuff comes in. So it's not about having perfect running form throughout the whole 3 hours and then all of a sudden it falls apart. Is you yourself will know, and this is where, in terms of taking responsibility of controlling and knowing what you're doing. Like the guy just ran behind me, I do recognise him, yeah? He's a 2-hour 30 marathon runner, and he's getting quicker. Yeah, his running form is completely different to mine. Yeah, completely different. We've ran together. We did do a run as a warm-up to Manchester Marathon, where I was crossed him along the canal here in Worcester. We have totally different running form, but I know, taking responsibility for myself, when I get to a certain point, I'll start feeling, you know, certain things beginning to ache or get sore, and I'll know that my form is dipping or dropping, and I have no worries about stopping the run there and then and think, right, that's enough, I've done enough. Yeah, there's no shame in that. However long you've been running for, whether it's 2 hours, 2.5, 2:45, it doesn't matter. Yeah, we don't need to stress ourselves and put pressure on ourselves mentally, physically, and then end up not getting to the start of the race fit and healthy. We get there injured with niggles, whatever. I've been there, done it, got the t-shirt, and it's not nice, and that's why I'm here spreading the mantra of get to the start fit and healthy. So there you have my 3 points on why the 3-hour rule is almost an essential part of what I would say our Friday fundamentals, especially as a beginner. 100%, yeah, you don't step over the mark, so to speak. And I really do hope you found this video useful. Thank you so much for staying to the very end. You deserve a medal for doing that. Leave in the comments below what your take from this is, how you think maybe it will help you. Have you got any hints and tips yourself as well that you want to share with us all in our community below? So leave that in the comments, and I'll look forward to seeing you at next week's Friday Fundamentals, where I'll be talking about, well, I don't know what I'll be talking about yet. It's yet to be decided. Maybe leave it in the comments below what you'd like me to talk about next week. Yeah, so but make it sharp, because I've got some things happening next week where I might need to pre-record it a little bit earlier than the Friday itself. Yeah, makes sense. Thanks so much for watching. Love you all, guys. Yeah, and remember, wherever you are, whatever you do, keep on running and keep enjoying the joy of running. Bye bye bye.